Yay.
Okay, so welcome to Fulfillionaire's File, the show where fulfillment, leadership, and financial wisdom meet. I'm Victoria Ferrer, personal power and public presence coach and a financial educator, helping entrepreneurs and executives strengthen their financial understanding while stepping into visibility with clarity, confidence, and conviction. Today's conversation is about legacy, how careers evolve, how families shape our values, and how service becomes a lifelong mission. I'm honored to be joined by two professionals whose work touches families across generations and continents. Joining us first is Dan Biller, an educator and advocate in the senior finance space, known for helping families navigate complex decisions
Mhm.
with patience, transparency, and trust. And with him is Madeleine Fortich, a real estate professional shaped by a multi state career, a deep family legacy, and a philanthropic foundation transforming lives in the Philippines. Dan, Madeline, welcome to Fulfillionaire's File. I'm delighted to have you both here.
Good morning, Vicky. Thank you. And thank you for the kind introduction. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
Thank you. And of course, our birthday lady, belated happy birthday, Madeline. When I
Thank you.
when I sent her a message, she said, "Oh, my greetings to you was late and your greetings to me is early." So, well,
That's
that
right.
works. That works for Aquarians, doesn't it?
It
So,
totally worked.
yeah. So, let me start with Dan. Dan, can you share your story? How did you get into this space and what specifically led you to focus on reverse mortgages?
Well, Vicky, it goes back, gosh, about 20 years. I worked for the Social Security Administration since 2005 here in the Bay Area. And I started taking claims for people that were retiring or going on to disability benefits. And I stayed with the agency for a while, always, working with seniors, became a manager and got a little bit out of the direct public contact. Um, and when I was there, we would talk to people retiring and hear their stories, but we couldn't really advise people or share too much because it was a very scripted environment. It's interviewing them for benefits, and that's all we could talk about. Um, then, like a lot of people during COVID, I pivoted in my career. Had a mentor and a slot where I could come into the reverse mortgage industry, and it was an easy fit for me just because I really love working with active adults, folks that are in retirement. And this gave me
Mhm.
the opportunity to really share with them, learn from them, and as we learn we talk to people, we can share that with future clients and future people we talk to. So that's something I really, really enjoy about my job. And I'm back in the face-to-face environment, which I'd sort of lost in management, and you kind of get
Mhm.
disconnected. So now
Yes.
I'm sort of a one-man show sometimes, where I just get to talk to people, learn from them, and advise them, and in the best case, find a really great solution for them. So government to mortgage, it wasn't a hard switch. A lot of regulations. I'm used to that, but that's how I ended up here in reverse, and I'm really enjoying it the last 4 or 5 years now.
That's amazing, Dan. And when working with seniors and families, what sets your approach apart, especially when it comes to education, trust, and clarity around their options?
Well, you nailed it right there in the way you phrased that question. Education, trust, and clarity are the really uh, pinnacles of what we like to do. I'm not trying to get someone into a reverse mortgage. I just want to educate them and broaden their horizons on what their options are so people don't feel maybe stuck in their home, or that they can't help their family out by using their home equity. We like to show people their options, talk
Mhm.
about the pros and the cons with them, but really make sure that they understand it. There's a lot of myths out there, especially in the reverse mortgage world, that have been pervasive for the last 40 years, and people need to really understand the program and see how they can use their home as part of their retirement and not just maybe as a last resort. So education, 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 and
Mm,
doing things like this is what I really love to do. And then, I tell people I'm not just here to do a loan for you, although I am a loan officer, but I'm here to guide you through this program for the rest of your life and your family. If, eventually our homeowners may go to heaven, and we
mhm.
help their children out and see what they can do with the home afterwards. So we're always here. I tell people put my card on the top of your trust documents so that whoever gets that trust, when you're not able to help out, they know who to call and help how to deal with the home and make sure everything is taken care of on the back end. So I'm out in the community, I'm not in a call center. We're here for life to really guide them through the process.
Well, I love that. We're here for life. We are, because this is really a commitment on educating individuals and families about the power of protection. And that's what something I'm also passionate about. What questions do families most often arrive with, and how do you help calm fear or confusion?
A lot of times they think they're going to lose their home.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the biggest myth that we overcome right in the beginning and let them know that they're going to keep their home. We're just giving them access to a portion of their equity. And they always ask what they can do with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the point where I start thinking about our resource partners. Like Madeline is amazing. She has such a breadth of wisdom and such a great list of connections where we
Mm-hmm.
can guide people to that specialist that they need. I specialize in my programs, but when questions come up about taxes, real estate, insurance, anything, that the family's dealing with, estate planning, we have a great resource, pool of people that we work with that we trust, just trusted advisors, I guess you could say. And we really draw off of that to answer all the questions that come up for everybody. So I'll give a little bit of an answer, but if it gets too deep, I'll guide that person to a tax preparer or an estate planner or an insurance person because people will ask us insurance questions all the time,
Mm-hmm.
real estate
Mm-hmm.
transaction questions. And so I think having that resource pool and a village of people to help us out really makes the journey for our clients smooth. They feel trusted. We give warm handoffs. We tell them who they'll be talking to. And that way we can handle all kinds of questions because the whole gambit of questions will come up when we talk to a family.
Reverse mortgages often carry a lot of misunderstanding and fear.
Mhm.
Why do you think they're so commonly misunderstood? And what do you wish more families truly knew before making assumptions?
Well, I think that because reverse mortgages have been around for so long and the sort of rebranding that the government did when HUD and FHA took over and really regulated reverse mortgages and put in protections for our homeowners, it didn't really stick. They gave it a government acronym. And I know that from working at Social Security, government acronyms are often a mouthful. And then you don't know what the acronym means. It's called the Home Equity Conversion Mortgage, HECM. Who's going
Mhm.
to remember that when reverse mortgage kind of rolls off the tongue?
Especially us
Right?
seniors
Yeah.
like us.
So that's been around since 1988. The reverse mortgage has been very highly regulated, and lenders offer it on behalf of HUD and FHA, but nobody knows that. They don't think about it like an FHA loan and realize the insurance, the safety regulations that are part of it. So overcoming those myths from the past has really been difficult. Like I said, people think they lose their home, they think they're prohibitive in cost, they think there'll be no equity left for their children. All of these things that have just stayed around through the years. And you hear that from your neighbors, your friends, your parents' friends, anybody that's thought about reverse or they have the old image in the past. And so that's what they'll tell us. I heard this, I heard that. And it's always good to ask, what do you know about reverse mortgage? So we know the right approach to take with someone. So we have to overcome a lot in the
Yeah,
beginning in some cases, but it's nothing that, we're not used to. And, a little adversity keeps things interesting. But,
true.
if it's a good fit, we roll with it. If not, I might refer them to someone who can offer a better solution. It just depends on every family.
I was just, I had an interview yesterday with somebody who is an expert in AI, and he told me that, there are people who are sort of like they can't accept the name of artificial intelligence. And so he said, you know what? I started renaming it. I call it intelligent assistant. I said, well, that makes sense. That sounds better.
Okay,
It's simpler and it's not intimidating. So I said, yeah. So I started using intelligent assistant. Why not?
why not?
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So then one question for you. What's one myth you'd love to permanently retire?
Gosh, there's a few in our field, but I guess that the one that people think there'll be nothing left for me, or I'm giving up my house
Yeah.
and all the equity's gone, because it's simply untrue. A reverse mortgage is just a lien like any other mortgage, and it's actually so conservative in the amounts that we offer homeowners as far as how much equity we give. It's a much lower percentage than an equity line, for example. Plus, you don't have to make a payment for life, so you can't really be
Mm-hmm.
foreclosed on by not paying. So just that safety aspect of reverse, I really wish people understood it more. Um, and if we didn't have to go over that every time, that would be a good one for me to eliminate.
Yeah, as you said, educate, educate, educate. That's
Yes.
all because really, you know, there's still a lot of people who need to know a lot of things like myself. It's really lifelong learning at the end of the day.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Retirement is a whole new thing to learn about, and there's so many avenues to go down. I just have one little piece of it for sure.
Mhm. So thanks, Dan, for that. Let's get to Madeline. Madeline from Manhattan to multiple
Yes,
states.
ma'am.
Real estate has clearly shaped your life. And can you share a defining moment from working alongside your father that influenced not just your career, but who you became as a professional and as a person?
If I had to pick one example, so I grew up working side by side with my father, Henry, which everyone knows I lovingly call him Henry because, you know, that's his name and I had to work with him. So in a professional setting, he was Henry. And
Yeah.
I recall very distinctly an incident where my father went to the bank ATM machine, very old school ATM machine. You go to the
Mhm.
bank to take your cash out. I know people probably don't know that that was a B of A product. And we were there on the corner of a very busy intersection in San Francisco. And my
Mhm.
father was withdrawing cash from the ATM machine.
Mhm.
And as I was standing there with him, somebody yelled out his name from a bus that was driving by,
Mhm.
public transportation, San Francisco Muni bus. You grew up in San Francisco, you recognize that. And somebody yelled Henry Fortich and yelled his name in the street. And my dad just casually turned around and was looking at who was calling his name. And I remember thinking to myself, my dad has cash in his hand. He's turning around. He's looking to see who's calling his name. It's a busy intersection. There's people walking by. And there was no hesitation in his action to turn around to see who was calling his name. And as we were walking past, he had, greeted the person that was talking to him. And it turned out it was a previous client's sibling.
Mm.
And we were walking to the car, and my father said, "This is one of those moments of a life lesson." He said, "When somebody yells your name in the street, you know that you did everything you could, that there's no reason for you to ever be afraid to see who's calling your name in the street." He said, "You do everything you can, very golden rule moment of do what you can, do unto others how you would want to be treated. And you'll never have that fear that some sort of harm is going to come to you when somebody calls your name out in a busy street." And I
Wow.
recall that to this day. And that's how I handled my business is I treat every single person that I come into contact with that same respect of I would like to be treated in a certain manner, and my hopes are that as professionals that would not be difficult. But in this day and age, there's plenty of bad actors that can always be involved in a situation. And so by keeping that golden rule front and center, that is probably one of those defining moments where I thought to myself, well, I know what my dad's made of, and as long as I have his last name, I'm always going to react the same way. Or when someone calls my name, I'm not ever going to be afraid of something that I've done for somebody.
Yeah, that's amazing. What lessons from him still guide your decisions today?
Um, the decisions of, let's see. One of the things that he reminds me of is real estate is an everyday business. Every day is a different day. And he
Mm-hmm.
said, there are some days where you will feel that you did not do everything you could do. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just how the transaction is going to transpire. And he said, sometimes you have to have faith that things will turn out the way they're intended to turn out. And sometimes we say this as real estate professionals. If the situation is right, the home is right for that person, everything falls into place, it will happen the way it was meant to happen. And sometimes, the desire to control everything is what takes over somebody's natural ability. You want this deal to go as smooth as possible. And sometimes it just doesn't. And like what Dan had mentioned, adversity every single day, is what keeps these things interesting. And it's true. We tend to learn more about how to do our job appropriately when we're tasked with things that we have to help guide our clients figure out. And in doing so, we learn more about what our capacity is as human beings to help and serve community, or at least
Mm-hmm.
that's what the hope is,
Mm-hmm.
so that the next time something similar or adjacent comes up, we're better geared for it. And we are the trusted advisor that people come to because we've been put in that situation previously, or we have the resources to help a situation that has presented.
Yeah, that's yeah, that's so really deep, deep. So your grandparents' legacy inspired you to create a foundation that's changing lives in the Philippines. What was the emotional turning point that moved this from a meaningful idea into a mission you actively lead and return to every year?
So both my grandparents were educators. And so we have a high school in the province where my mom is from that is still active. And I thought to myself, the thing that my parents drilled into me growing up was
Mhm.
always education can't be taken away from you. It's
Right.
something that you earn, and it's something that you keep. And hopefully, it's something you strive for on a day to day basis to learn something new every day. Did you learn something new today? Is what my father would ask me.
Mhm.
And both my parents are big on that education factor. And the turning point to me was to realize that there are some children who don't get the option to be educated past elementary school, for example. Their lives are that difficult that their family needs somebody who's going to work on a farm, and that child may only be able to read up to a fifth grade learning
Mhm.
capacity. And to change that around for children was something that I felt very blessed in that moment to realize that my parents supported me and advocated that I continue to educate myself. It's probably the running joke that I have more licenses than one person should have, but it's because I have that natural curiosity to want to educate myself. It will make
Mhm.
me a better professional. It will make me more rounded, and it will help the community that I choose to serve. And so to give back to community is to create this foundation where we support indigent children by way of supporting them through tuition so that they can attend school. And for the nominal amount that would be a sacrifice for any of us, maybe it's your Starbucks budget for the month.
Mhm. Yeah.
Somebody gets
Yeah.
to go to school for a year and learn to become a more complete version of their self and hopefully do something that helps support this world that we live in.
So, how has that work reshaped the way you view success?
It has shaped me in various ways, mostly because I see adversity. Adversity is a daily occurrence in other countries. There's always that saying of that's a first world problem. My internet's not working. It's a first world problem. And then you see places where they don't have clean running water. I mean, that's the analogy of the difference between a banana and a kumquat. These are not the same kind of problems, right?
Yeah.
And so that made me realize that if I had the ability to help change something, why would I not do it other than for it's a difficulty. How many people say, oh, one day I'm going to wake up and start a 501c foundation? It's a lot of work and it takes persistence and has you thinking about, the reason you're doing it. Is that enough drive for you to spend this amount of energy for the sake of volunteerism in some way? And so to me, that is one of the things that drives me is that I get to go to the school annually, if not biannually, to see the teachers, to meet with the students, to give them a better, well-rounded life because I was fortunate enough to have that for myself and I don't
Mhm.
take it for granted.
Yeah. God bless you for that. So, Madeline, balancing real estate, insurance, philanthropy, and international interest is no small feat. How do your travels and international house hunting experiences shape the way you serve clients and connect with communities across borders? I know like I talk to you, hey Vicky, I'm here in California, and the next day you're in Arizona, and the next day I don't know where you are. So I've really lost count where you are really. And I know that you are in Georgia right now. That's what I know. So, how do your travels and international, again, house hunting experiences shape the way you serve clients and connect with communities across borders?
I think of it this way. We all put our pants on the same way every day. I'm no different than any other person. And I would hope that there's a reason why we meet individuals for whatever reason, whether it's my life lesson or their life lesson. But hopefully there's a positive impact that can happen. And that's what I look for is what is the lesson to be learned here? Am I the one receiving the lesson? Am I the one teaching the lesson? But a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times it's very surprising. Just life in general is very surprising. I received a text message from a gentleman that I met in the Denver airport when I was
Mm-hmm.
coming back from Costa Rica to California. And he had texted me 4 years after I had met him.
Oh,
And he said, I remember you clear as the day is long. You're wearing a San Francisco Giants baseball hat because that is my team. And we sat together at a restaurant in the Denver airport. And I had a question for you about retirement and retiring abroad. And I thought, how funny, 4 years, complete radio silence, never heard from him. And then one day, just, sent me a text message. Hi, it's so and so. I met you in the airport. And these are those fun moments of, hey, I must have made an impact on someone for them to still remember me in some positive manner. And how can I serve them? How can I help them? What were they looking for? And so I was so happy to be able to provide this gentleman with the information he was looking for that there was a level of gratitude for both parties. I was grateful I was able to help him, and he was grateful that I responded.
yeah,
And in this day and age, with the flurry of everything and anything being thrown at us every single day in a text message and email or whatever the format may be, to have that genuine moment of connection that I was able to help him in some positive way.
that's,
That's something I'm extremely
yeah,
grateful for. So I
yeah.
don't take those interactions lightly. Um, it's funny because in my phone, people are stored. There's notes that I always add on what flight I met this individual because you never know. And life is very surprising that way. So if you look at it from the standpoint of it's a great engagement, and if it becomes
Mm.
something, that's great. If it doesn't turn into anything, that's also okay. But some of my closest friends I met, in a random situation on a BART train going to San Francisco, and and if you talk to anybody who grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, it's not normal for us to talk to people on the BART
I
train. It's not
know.
that's not a normal engagement. And still and yet, I find joy and levity in that, in the fact that, I got to meet somebody fabulous who's remained a fabulous person in my life for a significant amount of time. And you just never know where you're going to meet great people. Traveling is one of them. It's one of the greatest lessons to put yourself into, is to go beyond your comfort level and be uncomfortable for a little bit. And I
That's
travel
so true.
alone. Yeah, I travel alone more frequently than probably most people, and I enjoy it because I get the opportunity to engage on a level that is normal for me, but seen as very abnormal for some people. It just travel. Who wants to travel alone?
But maybe for you, you have peace of mind. You don't need to, consult. Should I go here? Should I turn right? Should I turn left? You're totally on your own when you make the
I'm completely
decision. So
untethered.
there's always
Yeah.
this pros, right?
Yep.
And this is something you want to do. This is your life.
Yes.
So it's your
Yes.
decision. Now I'm
Absolutely.
talking to a fellow Aquarian.
Yes.
So anyway, yeah, that's amazing. So Dan, would you like to talk to the audience and also give them your contact details just in case they want to reach out to you?
Sure. Well, thanks, Vicky. So I'm based in San Jose, but I'm licensed in 10 states now. So I can
Mhm.
help folks out in a number of places. But my contact, the easiest way is my phone. I use my cell phone for work. There's no extensions or company person to go through, is 408-759-2512. And then I can also be reached anytime by email. It's just my name, Dan, Dan, dot Biller, B as in boy, Iller, at NAF, like Nancy Alpha Frank, Inc.com. Dan Biller at nathinc.com.
Great. So to our viewers, please reach out to Dan. If you know anyone or you yourself you want to ask about reverse mortgage and anything that's related to that.
Sure,
Dan
we take
has his
scenarios
open
all day.
arms
Yeah.
to
Yes.
to welcome you. And Madeline, what about you?
So the easiest way to get in touch with me is my cell phone. Unfortunately or fortunately, it's attached to me most of the day. I can be reached at area code 510-750-7158. And that's actually the best way to reach me. Email is, believe it or not, a fun location for things to go and get filed. But other than that, as you can imagine, phone calls are probably the thing that people want to avoid the most, is phone calls. I actually welcome them. I prefer them over
Mhm.
text. I prefer
Mhm.
them over emails, because then we can have a conversation. Things that people don't necessarily like to do today is have a conversation.
That's true. I'm surprised you're saying, "Oh, I welcome phone calls," because sometimes people
I'd
would
rather have a phone
specifically
call.
say, "I'd rather please send your messages and I will also reply via message." And
You
here you
know,
are saying,
yeah,
"Oh, I welcome phone calls."
I
Wow.
would rather have a phone call. And to be honest, it's you get the context of people's
Hmm.
engagement a lot faster in
Mhm.
a phone conversation. You can sense urgency. Um, and you don't get that with text messages. Text
No.
messages to me are very sterile in that aspect. And I would like to know what it is I can do and how fast does that information need to be given back so that I can tell. And it's very difficult by email or text message, other than, I joke around. My dad, Henry, is 87 this year, and everything has exclamation marks, but I've learned that that literally means he's just excited about something. But other than that, exclamation marks are readily received by phone conversation equally as well.
And
So
that's
that
one
is my
thing I learned in
preference.
management
Yeah.
was different generations use exclamation
Mhm.
points a bit
Yeah.
differently. My higher up manager, who was older than me, put skulls and exclamations in her emails, and then the millennial and younger employees on the other end of it were triggered by that, and it's like, oh
Oh
my
yeah.
goodness. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it
I
can be a
agree.
miscommunication.
Yeah, so I was in the middle,
Misunderstanding.
so a phone
Yeah.
conversation is definitely easier.
Definitely. I totally agree. Well, this has been such a rich conversation about education, family legacy, and service that stretches across generation. Dan, Madeline, thank you for sharing your stories and your hearts. Let the And to our viewers, if today reminded you that success is not just about transactions, but about people, purpose, and preparation, then you're already thinking like a fulfillionaire.
Oh, thank you.
I'm Victoria Ferrer, personal power and public presence coach, and this has been Fulfillionaire's File. Thank you for joining us again, Dan and Madeline. And I'll see you next time as we continue spotlighting leaders who build prosperity with purpose. So, bye everyone. Until the next time.